Okay, so we have understood object orientation in the previous chapter. In this chapter, we will compare procedural language-based programming and object-oriented programming. We'll just throw some lights on some key differentiation points and look at the way the program structure will vary, and also list some of the popular object-oriented programming languages that we see in the industry. We have discussed about procedural programming and object-oriented programming, and we saw how to solve a problem like finding the area of a rectangle using a procedural method as well as an object-oriented programming method. So now let us try to understand the different aspects of these two and how they basically can be compared, and look at the differences between procedural and object-oriented programming. So procedural programming, so if you look at it, it is nothing but a sequence of instructions, as simple as that. And it has functions, so where function can be a reusable entity, so I can reuse that function as well. For example, if I want to compute the area of another rectangle with a different length and width, for example, I can basically pass on to the same compute area function, and I can get the area of a new rectangle. So that's a simple example of reusability. All right, and it just groups all the compute tasks together with some data structures and some algorithms, and we have the steps of operations, which are the basic concept of a procedural language. Whereas object-oriented language is modeled the human way. In the previous video, we talked about it, and then we saw how the human collaboration is something what is taken as a model for solving a problem in the object-oriented environment. So object-oriented programming comes with entities, it has behaviors, it has the data, information, and collaboration or interaction between the objects. And object-oriented programming world, we don't just name the object as an arbitrary object 1, object 2, object 3 in general. We just name them based on the domain that we are basically solving a problem, right? In an insurance domain, for example, you may have classes associated with that, like insurance, agent, plan, something like that. Similarly, in a domain like hospital domain, say for example, you are creating a hospital management system, so you will have classes like hospital staff or lab pathology or patient, doctor, nurse. So like that, there could be different types of entities which are something similar to the humans and the human interaction. And object plus messages is something what object-oriented programming is all about as compared to procedural program. All right, so now let us look at the structure, the differences. Okay, so let us explore the differences in program structure. A procedural program basically has a simple structure where it has a main function, and then you have data which can be accessed across multiple functions, including the main function. So you can see that multiple functions are being invoked and they all operate on the data. So that's a basic concept in a procedural program. Whereas if you look at an object-oriented program, it is quite different, where every object will have its own data. So this is very much important. So you can just take a look at this, which is the actual difference between a procedural language or a procedural program and an object-oriented program. So here you see the data coming into picture is encapsulated well within the respective object. So every object or every class has its own structure and its own data. So that's a basic difference in terms of program structure. Next, the popular O languages, C++, Java, Smalltalk, C#, or C#, Python, Ruby, TypeScript. So there are various languages which do support object-oriented programming. So these are some of the elements associated with the differences between procedural and object-oriented programming.